Welcome to Dependable Flame, where we explore vintage petrol lighters, ashtrays, tobacciana, and other useful mechanisms. Make yourself at home. Today we are going to talk about flint, ferrocerium, hour metal, stones, whatever you call it. We're talking about the stuff that makes your vintage lighters spark. And one of the biggest misconceptions or mistakes that many beginning vintage lighter collectors make as they sort of make their way through the lighter collecting hobby. But we'll have more on that coming up here toward the end of the video. It makes sense. It's very understandable to me why there would be so much confusion about flint, because when you first dig into a lighter, whichever lighter it is, table lighter, pocket lighter, whatever kind of old vintage lighter that you are going to work on, if it was sparked by flint, then chances are this flint tube is blocked, clogged, whatever you want to call it, by degraded or powdered or often even cemented flint. The 1954 lighter repair manual talks about using the proper flint and wick for that matter, for each lighter, and it lists off several different ones. You can see here it starts off with the silver and red flint, which are standard, and then it shows a different flint for thorns, different one for a giant lighter, which it also says is the same as the particular flint that a Beatty jet should be using, Negbauer, and then also the Dunhill lighters. It lists off have their own particular flint. In my experience with the petrol lighters that I have repaired and used, typically a normal flint like the Ronson Redskin. I don't think you can buy those new anymore. They're still available on eBay here and there. The Zippo type, these were not Zippo, these were a generic similar flint that was bought off of eBay. Seemed to work in just about every lighter. I've never had any problems using these kind of wicks or Zippo or Ronson wicks in the Thorns. I guess a lot of people have. But, well, I shouldn't say I guess a lot of people have. I have seen reports that people say that a particular Thorns would not operate on a Zippo flint or Ronson flint, and that seems to be corroborated when you look back at this 1954 lighter repair manual, and it shows that Thorns indeed needed. The way it explains it is this flint is the same size as a standard, but is much harder to prevent excessive wear by the extremely sharp Thorns file wheel. I don't have any of those Thorns. I did have some bigger, longer flint at one point. You can see the difference in the Dunhill flint. The blue is your typical standard size flint that would work in the Dunhill petrol lighters. The roller gas lighters apparently take a bigger, obviously wider flint. I think you could use those Dunhills in just about, the blue Dunhill in just about any old petrol lighter. You may be able to use these reds in a few, but not many. Occasionally you'll run into a lighter where, because of the turn of the tube, the flints that you have will be too long, so you'll have to use one that has already been ground down in another lighter, or if you want to bust one in half, you can do that with a couple of pairs of pliers. Before we dig in here though, that's the one thing I wanted to talk about, the main misconception that I get questions about all the time when people dig into an old lighter and they pull that flint spring out. And that's all that comes out, so it makes sense. But if you look, the tip of that flint spring looks very much like the flint itself. And so that's the question, that's the misconception. And you know, I gotta admit, it seems kind of foolish at first. I kind of chuckle at it, but you know, if I didn't know that myself, if I was just digging in there and I expect to find a flint and I don't, nothing comes out, and you see this, and like I said, it looks pretty similar to a flint, so I can understand where someone can make that mistake. It may seem foolish, it may seem kind of dumb to the initiated, but when you've never had that experience of pulling a flint out of a lighter, then it may make perfect sense. So I just wanted to make this video real quick because I know that question, I know that there are going to be people that this video will resonate with, because I get that question in emails all the time, where the assumption was they need to replace the flint and they can't figure out, they can see that the tip of the flint spring has been ground down and they assume it's past its usable point, and now they think they need to fix this. You don't need to fix this. You can leave that. You just need to get your flint tube drilled out or cleaned out, however you choose to do it, and then replace it with a new flint. And then let your flint spring and the flint spring screw do their job, along with that tip, in holding that flint in place so that you can achieve the fire that you desire. Until next time.